Never start your life like this. Most people spend 40, 50, 60 years building a version of themselves they never actually chose. And the scary part? They don't even realize it until it's too late. There's this ancient symbol, a serpent eating its own tail, the Ouroboros. The Aztecs drew it as the end of the world. The Greeks drew it as eternity. Medieval alchemists drew it as the secret of transformation. Every single culture that ever put that image on paper understood something we've completely forgotten today. The thing that keeps you alive can also be the exact thing that destroys you. And right now, without you even knowing it, your mind is doing exactly that. It's eating itself. And I'm going to show you how. Because here's the thing nobody talks about. Your mind doesn't just think thoughts. It builds a character. A version of you, the acceptable you, the successful you, the you that fits in at dinner parties and job interviews and family reunions, and then it spends your entire life every single day defending that version, protecting it, refusing to let it die. Even when that version of you is slowly killing everything real inside you. You want to quit the job that's been grinding you into dust for the past decade? Your mind goes, but you've invested 10 years. You can't throw that away. You want to chase something that actually makes you feel alive? Your mind goes, that's not realistic. That's not what people like you do. You want to stop performing for everyone around you and just be yourself for once? Your mind whispers, but what if they reject you? What if you're not enough? The thing that's supposed to protect you becomes your prison. The serpent eating its own tail, creating and destroying, building and devouring, never breaking the cycle because the cycle is the only thing it knows. And most people live their entire lives trapped inside that cycle. They optimize the performance, they defend the persona, they invest decades into becoming someone they're not even sure they wanted to be in the first place. And they never realize they're trapped until something breaks. A crisis, a loss, a divorce. A 3 a.m. moment where everything goes quiet and the performance falls away and they see it clearly for the first time. I've been living someone else's answer to a question I never even asked. That moment, that terrifying, gut-punching moment, is actually a gift because right after it, there's a choice. Go back to sleep. Or wake up and figure out which part of your mind has been steering this whole time. This video is about that choice. About the philosophy, the neuroscience, and the raw human truth of how your mind works against you, how the Ouroboros forms inside you, and most importantly, how to break the cycle before you consume yourself completely. Let's go back to 1973. An anthropologist named Ernest Becker published a book called The Denial of Death. He won the Pulitzer Prize for it. 2 months after he died, cancer. He was 49 years old, and I need you to sit with that for a second. Here was a man who spent years mapping out every psychological trick humans use to avoid thinking about death. He understood the terror of mortality better than almost any person alive, and none of that understanding saved him. The cancer didn't care how smart he was. But what Becker left behind wasn't just a theory about death. It was basically a diagnostic tool. A way of understanding why so many people wake up at 40, 50, 60 and realize with a sick feeling in their stomach that they've been living the completely wrong life. His central idea was this: humans cannot face the reality of their own death without experiencing a kind of paralyzing, unbearable anxiety. Think about it. We came from nothing. We gained consciousness. We learned to love people, dream about things, hope for a future, and then we return to nothing. That knowledge, really sitting with that knowledge, is almost too much for a human brain to handle. So we deny it. And the way we deny it shapes absolutely everything about how we live. Becker said humans basically choose one of two paths, two ways of denying death, two forms of what he called heroism. The first is cultural heroism. You adopt a social role. You become a good employee, a respectable citizen, a normal person. You fit yourself into systems that existed long before you were born and will continue long after you're gone. Your sense of meaning, your feeling that your life matters, comes from being part of something bigger. The company, the nation, the tradition. You matter because you belong. The second is personal heroism. You develop what is uniquely, specifically yours. You create something, art, ideas, work, relationships that could only have come from you. Your sense of meaning comes from your irreplaceability. You matter because you're singular, because there's nobody else exactly like you. Now here's the brutal truth. Most people choose cultural heroism, not because it's better, because it's safer. And this right here is where the Ouroboros begins. This is where your mind starts eating itself. Cultural heroism requires you to suppress parts of yourself, the weird parts, the inconvenient parts, the parts that want things the system doesn't value and can't measure, so your mind splits in two. One part becomes what I'll call the manager, the part that says, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, don't question it. The part that craves approval, fears rejection, needs to belong more than it needs anything else in the world. The other part, the part that actually knows what you want, the part that remembers who you were before you learned to perform, gets locked in a room somewhere deep inside you. And your mind spends a terrifying amount of energy keeping that door shut. Because if that part gets out, if you actually listen to it, you might have to change everything. You might have to admit the career you've defended for 10 years isn't what you want. You might have to face the fact that the identity you've built so carefully, the one that impresses people at parties, is a performance, not a person. You might have to risk everything comfortable and certain for something authentic and absolutely terrifying. So your mind doesn't let you hear that voice. It drowns it out, rationalizes it away, keeps you in the cycle, the serpent eating its own tail. Søren Kierkegaard, a philosopher writing in Denmark in the 1840s, had a different way of describing this. He called it forgetting your divine name, not your legal name. The name that was yours before anyone told you which names were acceptable, before you learned which dreams were realistic and which were childish, before you discovered that some versions of yourself were welcome at the table and others needed to stay hidden. Kierkegaard watched people around him become complete strangers to themselves. They were surrounded by crowds, busy with work and social obligations and the endless noise of daily life, becoming, as he wrote, more and more shrewd about the ways of the world. And in all that busyness, all that noise, they forgot who they actually were. They did not dare to believe in themselves, found it too risky to be themselves, far easier and far safer to be like the others, to become a copy, a number, a face in the crowd. He called this condition the sickness unto death, not sadness, not depression, something more specific and more devastating, the condition of being in despair about not being yourself, the slow, grinding agony of performing a life instead of living one. And here's the part that should genuinely scare you. Most people don't even know they're sick. They think they're fine. They're functioning. They have jobs and relationships and routines that work on paper. They have absolutely no idea they've lost something essential. Something that can't be bought back with a promotion or a vacation or a new car. I see this everywhere. People in their 30s and 40s and 50s who are exceptionally, impressively good at performing competence, who have optimized every single aspect of their external lives. And you can see it when you look closely, this dullness behind the eyes. This feeling that they're running a program rather than actually living. They're not miserable exactly. There's something worse. They're numb. Completely, totally numb. Virginia Woolf described it like this: all outer show and inward emptiness, dull, callous, indifferent. The Ouroboros consuming itself until there's nothing left but the performance. But here's what makes it so insidious, so sneaky, so hard to fight. The performance works. You get promoted, you get respected. You accumulate all the little trophies and titles and external markers that tell you and everyone around you that you're doing it right. And your mind, your left hemisphere manager, uses all of that validation to justify the suppression. See, it's working. This is who you are. That voice you hear sometimes at 3, am the one quietly asking whether this is actually what you want. That's just fear talking. Ignore it. Go back to sleep. And the cycle tightens. Each success makes it harder to question. Each year you invest makes it more costly to change direction. Each moment you spend building the performance makes the real person underneath harder and harder to find. Until you're 45 with a career you never consciously chose, relationships built on a version of yourself that isn't real, and this growing, gnawing sense that you've somehow been living someone else's life this whole time. And the tragedy, the real tragedy, isn't that you're suffering. The tragedy is that you're not suffering enough to change. You're comfortable, secure, functionally fine, just completely dead inside. And dead inside is the quietest, most socially acceptable way to waste a life. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this with painful clarity. He said the problem isn't even primarily fear, it's laziness. Every person, he observed, knows somewhere deep inside that they're unique, knows they'll only ever exist once, knows that the specific, unrepeatable combination of experiences and wounds and perspectives and passions they carry will never exist again in the history of the universe. But we hide that knowledge. We cloak ourselves in what everyone else is doing, what's considered normal, what's considered realistic, what's considered sensible. Why? Because becoming yourself, actually becoming yourself, not just daydreaming about it, requires enormous, sustained, uncomfortable effort. You have to constantly resist the pull of conformity. You have to tolerate being misunderstood by people you care about. You have to build your own meaning from scratch instead of borrowing it from systems and institutions that already have meaning pre-packaged and ready to go. And you have to do all of this without any guarantee it will work. Without external validation, without the comfort of knowing you're doing the right thing. It is exhausting. So, we choose what Nietzsche called the hay wagon. You can ride a wild stallion, or you can fall asleep on a moving hay wagon. The stallion is alive, dangerous, unpredictable. It might throw you. It might take you somewhere you never planned to go. But you're awake. You're steering. You're in this real, alive, terrifying dialogue with something that has its own will. The hay wagon is comfortable. You're moving. You can tell yourself you're going somewhere, but you're not choosing the direction. The wagon was already moving before you climbed on. You're just being carried by momentum that was never yours to begin with. And because it's comfortable, because everyone around you is on their own hay wagons, you fall asleep. You spend your entire life asleep, being carried along by forces you never stop to question. This is the Ouroboros in another form, your mind choosing comfort over aliveness, safety over truth, the known over the possible, consuming itself to sustain itself. Now let me show you what this actually looks like inside your brain. Because this isn't just philosophy, this is neuroscience, real, documented, studied neuroscience. Iain McGilchrist, a psychiatrist who spent decades studying the divided brain, discovered something that should change the way you think about every decision you've ever made. Your two brain hemispheres don't just process different types of information. They create completely different worlds. They have fundamentally different relationships with reality. Your left hemisphere is the manager. It loves categories, roles, systems, certainty. It needs to be right more than it needs to be true. It's the voice that says, this is realistic, this is what people like you do, this is the safe path, don't deviate from it. Your left hemisphere is extraordinarily useful. It helps you function. It gets things done, but it has one massive, catastrophic blind spot. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. Your right hemisphere is the suppressed voice. It sees context, nuance, ambiguity, possibility. It's comfortable sitting with uncertainty, something the left hemisphere finds almost physically painful. It experiences the world as fluid and interconnected and alive. It asks, what if there's another way? What if I haven't seen everything yet? What if the map isn't the territory? Both hemispheres are necessary. You need both. The left gives you the tools to function. The right gives you the capacity to actually live. But McGilchrist's central disturbing argument is that in modern Western culture, the left hemisphere has quietly, gradually staged a coup. We live in a world that was designed by and for left hemisphere thinking. Efficiency over meaning, data over wisdom, categories over individuals, systems over souls, output over experience, metrics over aliveness. Cultural heroism is pure left hemisphere dominance. Give me a clear path, tell me the rules. Define what success looks like, and I will optimize for it relentlessly. I don't need to know why, I just need to know how. Personal heroism requires right hemisphere integration. I don't know where this leads. I'm exploring, I'm discovering. I'm comfortable not knowing yet, because the discovery itself is the whole point. And when the left hemisphere dominates completely, when the manager wins absolutely, you lose the ability to even imagine another path. You look at personal heroism and see only chaos, risk, irresponsibility, selfishness. You genuinely cannot perceive what you've lost because the part of your brain that would recognize the loss has been overridden, silenced, replaced with a very confident voice that tells you everything is fine. This is the neurological foundation of the Ouroboros, one hemisphere eating the other, the manager consuming the explorer, the performer destroying the person. And you don't notice it happening because the left hemisphere controls the narrative. It's the part that explains your life to yourself, and it has every single reason to justify its own dominance. So it tells you stories. You're being responsible. You're being realistic. You're doing what needs to be done. You're not like those flaky, irresponsible people who chase impossible dreams. You're grounded. You're smart. You're practical. And the right hemisphere, the part that knows what you actually want, the part that remembers what it felt like to be fully alive, gets quieter and quieter and quieter. Until one day, you can't hear it at all. Until you forget it was ever there. Let me show you exactly how this happens, step by step. Because when you see the machinery, you can't unsee it. You're 5 years old. You draw a purple elephant. You're excited about it. Genuinely excited in that pure, uncomplicated way only children can be. You show your teacher. The teacher says elephants aren't purple, use gray. You just learned your first lesson. Your authentic vision is wrong. The correct answer is what everyone agrees on. Small moment, barely registers consciously. But the left hemisphere takes note. Conformity produces approval. You're 16. You want to study philosophy or art or literature, something that pulls at something inside you. Your parents say that doesn't pay. Study business, study engineering, study something practical. You just learned that what genuinely draws you doesn't matter. What matters is what the market values. Another data point. The left hemisphere files it away. Authentic desire equals impractical. Suppress and redirect. You're 25. You hate your corporate job. It's grinding you down in ways you don't have words for yet, but it has an impressive title. Your friends say you're so lucky. I wish I had your job. You just learned that your internal experience is completely irrelevant. What matters is external perception. What matters is how it looks from the outside. The pattern is set. The manager has all the evidence it needs. Suppressing the right hemisphere keeps you safe, keeps you approved of, keeps you belonging. Layer by layer, year by year. The manager learns to override the explorer before it even gets a chance to speak. And by 30, 40, 50, you've forgotten the explorer exists. Nobody did this to you on purpose. Nobody sat down and decided to steal your authentic self. It's just how cultural heroism perpetuates itself. Through 10,000 small moments where you learned over and over again that fitting in is safer than standing out, that conforming is smarter than exploring, that the map everyone else is following is more reliable than the compass inside you. The poet David Whyte wrote, "The price of our vitality is the sum of all our fears." Every single time you chose safety over authenticity, you paid a price. A small piece of aliveness. A small dimming of the light. You did it so many times you forgot what full brightness felt like. This is how the Ouroboros forms, not through one dramatic moment of self-betrayal. Through 10,000 tiny ones that didn't even feel like betrayals at the time, because everyone around you was doing the same thing. And collective numbness feels an awful lot like normal. Now, let me show you what this looks like in actual human lives. Because theory is one thing, reality is another. Vincent van Gogh sold one painting in his entire lifetime. One. He lived in poverty so grinding it's hard to even imagine. His own family thought he was wasting his life. Society had absolutely zero use for him. He was, by every measurable external metric, a failure. But he painted anyway. Not because it was going to make him successful, he had plenty of evidence it wouldn't, not because anyone was asking for it. But because painting was the only honest way he knew how to exist, it was the only way the right hemisphere could speak. He chose personal heroism. He refused day after day, year after year, in poverty and rejection and mental illness, to let the manager override the explorer. He kept listening to the voice that everyone around him was screaming at him to ignore, and he died thinking he was a failure. I want you to sit with that, because it's not a feel-good story. It's not a story about how following your authentic path guarantees some kind of reward. It's a story about what it genuinely costs to refuse the Ouroboros. To refuse to let your mind eat itself, even when every single external force in your life is telling you to conform, to be realistic, to give up. Van Gogh could have stopped painting, could have gotten a normal job, could have lived a comfortable, socially acceptable, externally validated life. The left hemisphere was screaming at him to do exactly that. This isn't working. This is irrational. You're failing by every metric that matters. But the right hemisphere knew something the left one didn't. Failure at being yourself is still preferable to success at being someone else. Not easier, not more comfortable, not more rational by any conventional calculation, but more alive. And aliveness, not comfort, not security, not status, is what makes a life worth living. Now contrast that with someone who chose the other direction. I know someone, let's call him David. 47 years old, partner at a major law firm. Successful by absolutely every conventional measure you could apply. Good salary, nice house, respected in his field, and completely, totally dead inside. He told me he hasn't felt genuine excitement about his work in 15 years. He's good at it, very good at it. He makes serious money. He has status that impresses people. But when I asked him what he actually wants to do, what he would do if the money and the expectations and the opinions of others weren't factors, he went quiet for a long time. Because he doesn't know. The right hemisphere has been suppressed for so long, that voice has gotten so quiet, he genuinely cannot hear it anymore. He knows what he's supposed to want. Partnership, prestige, wealth. The left hemisphere has those metrics locked in and polished, but what he actually, personally, authentically wants, that signal is so faint, it might as well not exist. This is the Ouroboros in its final, most complete form. The serpent has consumed so much of itself, there's almost nothing left. Just the performance, the role, the function. The machine that keeps running because stopping would mean asking questions nobody has answers to. And here's the part that breaks my heart. David knows this. He's not stupid. He's not unaware. He knows he's living the wrong life. He knows he's trapped in a cycle of his own making. He can see the cage. He can even describe it in detail. But breaking the cycle would mean admitting the last 25 years were, in some important sense, a mistake. Would mean walking away from everything he's spent his entire adult life building. Would mean sitting with the terror of not knowing who he is underneath the performance. And that terror is genuinely enormous. So he stays, keeps performing, keeps defending a life he doesn't want, because the left hemisphere has won so completely that changing course doesn't just feel risky, it feels like death. And maybe it is a kind of death. The death of the persona, the death of the image, the death of the story he's been telling himself about who he is and what his life means. But the alternative, continuing on the current path, is also a kind of death. The slow, quiet, socially acceptable death of vitality, of aliveness, of whatever he might have become if he'd listened to that other voice 20 years ago. This is the choice everyone faces eventually. And I mean everyone. You, me, David, all of us. Which death are you willing to risk? The death of the false self, or the death of the true one? Most people choose to kill the true self, because it's quieter, because it happens gradually, incrementally, one small suppression at a time, because you can do it while maintaining the perfect appearance of success. You can be dead inside and still get promoted, still get respected, still accumulate every marker that signals you're doing it right. The Ouroboros doesn't look like failure from the outside. It looks exactly like success. And that is precisely, specifically, what makes it so dangerous. So, how do you break the cycle? How do you actually stop the serpent from consuming itself? Not through one dramatic, life-changing decision. That's a fantasy. Real change doesn't work like that. It works through practice. Daily, unglamorous, sometimes boring practice of listening to both voices, the manager and the explorer, instead of letting one destroy the other. Start by just noticing when they're in conflict. You're about to say yes to something, a commitment, an obligation, a path forward, and you feel this slight pull in the other direction. This small contraction somewhere in your chest. This sense of obligation rather than genuine choice. That's the manager talking, the part that knows what you're supposed to do. Pause, just pause, and ask the explorer, what do I actually want here? Not what would be smart, not what would avoid conflict or keep everyone comfortable, not what would look good from the outside. What do I actually, genuinely, specifically want? Sometimes the answers align. You're supposed to do it, and you also want to do it. Good, do it. But own it as a deliberate choice, not a reflex, not a default. Not because you're supposed to. Sometimes they won't align, and that's when you have real information. That's when you can make a conscious choice instead of an automatic one. Maybe you still do the thing for reasons you can actually articulate, to support people you love, to honor a commitment that matters to you, to develop a skill that genuinely serves your growth. That's different. That's choosing your fate rather than having it choose you. Or maybe you say no. You disappoint someone. You risk judgment. You tolerate the discomfort of being the person who didn't do what was expected. That's personal heroism. That's the right hemisphere finally getting a vote after years of being overruled. This practice isn't about always choosing personal heroism over cultural heroism. It's not some romantic fantasy where you quit your job and move to a beach and everything becomes perfect. The practice is about making conscious choices instead of unconscious ones, about knowing which hemisphere is steering, about asking what you're actually choosing and, crucially, why. This won't make you successful. Not by conventional metrics. It won't make you happy in some permanent, guaranteed way. But it will make you alive. Both hemispheres integrated. Both voices actually heard, neither one eating the other. And that aliveness, that full, uncomfortable, uncertain, deeply real aliveness, is all any of us can actually hope for. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote in 1841 for Nonconformity, "The world whips you with its displeasure." He wasn't being dramatic, he was being accurate. When you step off the hay wagon, when you stop performing the role everyone has quietly agreed you should perform, people notice. And they respond. Not because they're bad people, but because your nonconformity directly threatens their conformity. If you can step outside the cultural heroism script and survive and even flourish, you're proving something nobody wants proven. You're proving the script is optional. And if it's optional, then everyone still following it is choosing to follow it. And if they're choosing, they're responsible for that choice. And that responsibility, that weight, is exactly what cultural heroism was designed to help them avoid. So, they need you to fail. They need you to come back. They need you to confirm that breaking the Ouroboros leads to disaster, embarrassment, loneliness, regret. Because if it doesn't, if you actually make it work, they might have to look honestly at their own cycles. This is why genuine change is so brutally hard. It's not just your own left hemisphere fighting you, it's everyone else's left hemisphere fighting too. Your transformation threatens their stasis. Your aliveness highlights their numbness. Your choice forces them to confront the fact that they're just choosing sleep. So they'll call you selfish, irresponsible, going through a phase. They'll pull back their approval, question your judgment, make you doubt everything you thought you understood about yourself. And your left hemisphere, your loyal, well-meaning, terrified manager, will use every single one of those reactions as evidence that you should go back. See, they're all saying the same thing. You must be wrong. This is the final test, the real test. Can you tolerate being the one person in the room who sees what you see? Can you trust the right hemisphere, your own quiet, uncertain, exploratory voice, even when every external signal confirms your left hemisphere's deepest fears? Can you choose aliveness, even when it looks, from the outside, like failure? Now, before we go any further, I need to tell you something. And I'm going to be straight with you, because that's the whole point of everything we just talked about. Videos like this one, the ones that actually make you uncomfortable, the ones that hold a mirror up to your face and refuse to look away, these are exactly the videos that the algorithm buries. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not making excuses. That's just the reality of how these platforms work. The algorithm rewards content that keeps you passive. Content that entertains you without ever challenging you. Content that confirms what you already believe instead of dismantling it. The moment a video starts asking you hard questions, real questions, the kind that make you sit in silence after the platform quietly stops showing it to people. Because a person who's thinking deeply is a person who's not clicking ads. And clicking ads is the only thing these platforms actually care about. So the topics we go even deeper on the ones that are too raw, too real, too honest for a platform that needs you distracted and comfortable. Those don't live here. They live somewhere else. Somewhere with no algorithm, no suppression, no system deciding whether you're allowed to hear the truth today. I've built a space where we go further than this, where we pull back layers that YouTube would never let us pull back in public, where the conversations are longer, darker, more honest, and more useful than anything you'll find on a platform that's trying to sell you something, where people who are genuinely done sleepwalking through their lives come to actually wake up. If this video did something to you, if something we talked about today landed somewhere deep and you felt that shift, that slight terror of recognition, then you already know you're not built for surface-level content. You already know you need more than what the algorithm is willing to give you. The link is in the description. Come find us. The door is open. But only come if you're serious, because what we do in there is not comfortable, and it is not for people who want to stay on the hay wagon. The people already inside, they chose the stallion. Come ride with us. Nietzsche had a thought experiment for this. He called it the eternal return. Imagine a demon appears to you tonight and tells you that you will live this exact life, every moment, every decision, every consequence infinitely, over and over, forever. No escape. No changes. How do you feel? If your immediate gut reaction is horror, if something inside you screams no, anything but this, then you're living a life shaped by forces you never consciously chose. You're on the hay wagon, asleep, being carried toward a destination that was never yours. But if you feel yes, I would choose this again, exactly as it is, then you've achieved what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of fate, not just accepting your life, authoring it, owning every chapter of it. The difference isn't in the circumstances. Van Gogh died broke and thinking he'd failed, but he chose his fate, consciously, every single day. David lives in comfort and security. but his fate chose him. That's the difference. Not wealth, not success, not happiness. Just who's steering, which voice is driving, whether you're choosing or being chosen. Becker knew this in his final months. Cancer doesn't negotiate. Death was coming regardless of how brilliantly he understood its psychology, but he'd spent his life doing the thing that mattered to him. Asking the question only he could ask, in the way only he could ask it. He'd refused imperfectly, incompletely, but genuinely to let the manager override the explorer. He'd broken the Ouroboros. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough to die knowing he'd lived as himself rather than as a function. As a person rather than a performance. That's not immortality. That's not some triumphant victory over death. But it's the only victory death actually allows any of us. The Ouroboros is still there. It never goes away. Still consuming. Still offering the comfort and warmth and social approval of the cycle. Cultural heroism is still the safer path. Still the path most people will choose. And honestly, that's okay. Cultural heroism is real heroism. It keeps the world functioning. It holds civilizations together. But if you're still here, if you've made it to this point in this video, then something in you is asking the question. Something in your right hemisphere is saying, this isn't enough. This performance isn't me. This cycle is consuming something I can't afford to lose. And if you're hearing that voice, even faintly, even buried under years of noise and suppression and the opinions of people who mean well but don't really know you, you have a choice. Keep suppressing it. Keep feeding the cycle. Stay comfortable and numb and functionally dead. Or listen to it. Start noticing which hemisphere is steering. Start making conscious choices instead of automatic ones. Start interrupting the Ouroboros before it finishes the job. The serpent won't stop eating itself just because you want it to. You have to actively, deliberately interrupt the cycle. Daily, moment by moment, choice by choice. Asking, is this mine? Did I actually choose this? Or is this just what I'm supposed to do? And when the answer is supposed to asking, do I choose it anyway, for my own genuine reasons? Or am I just following a script I never agreed to in the first place? That's the practice. That's how you break the cycle, not through one big dramatic transformation that changes everything overnight, but through 10,000 small moments of consciousness instead of automaticity, of aliveness instead of numbness, of genuine choice instead of comfortable conformity. The world will whip you with its displeasure. Your own left hemisphere will scream that you're making a terrible mistake. Everyone around you will confirm loudly and repeatedly that you should go back to sleep, and you'll have to choose anyway. Choose the wild stallion over the hay wagon. Choose personal heroism over cultural heroism. Choose the right hemisphere's honest uncertainty over the left hemisphere's false, comfortable certainty. Choose to be yourself fully, imperfectly, inconveniently yourself, even when everyone around you needs you to be someone else. That's the only way to break the Ouroboros. Not by destroying the cycle, by choosing to step outside it, again and again and again, until choosing becomes who you are, until the cycle loses its grip, until the serpent can no longer eat its own tail because there's finally something else feeding it, something authentic, something alive. Something that could only have come from you and nobody else. That's not comfortable. That's not safe. That's not guaranteed to work out the way you hope. But it's the only thing that makes the sheer terror of being alive bearable. The only thing that lets you face death whenever it comes, however it comes, knowing that you actually lived, that you were actually here. The Ouroboros is still there, still consuming, still offering the warm, familiar comfort of the cycle. The question is simple. The question is terrifying. The question is the only one that actually matters. Will you keep feeding it, or will you finally break free?